Well, good morning and welcome to our continued and our final part of our journey through Psalm 145. And today we'll be looking at the last few verses, verses 18 to 21. And I'll read from the end of verse 13 again as we look at the second half, and then focus particularly on 18 to 21. But I'll read from verse 13. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures throughout all generations. The Lord is faithful in all his words and kind in all his works. The Lord upholds all who are falling and raises up all who are bowed down. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in due season. You open your hand, you satisfy the desire of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and kind in all his works. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. He fulfills the desire of those who fear him. He also hears their cry and saves them. The Lord preserves all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy. My mouth will speak the praise of the Lord, and let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever. Well, I've left quite a lot for us to look at in these verses, so we'll just touch on a few things. But verses 18 to 21, I think, get even more personal. The psalm is a psalm of praise, a psalm of celebration of God's character. Remember verses 8 and 9, the Lord gracious and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, good to all, his mercies over all he's made. Very much Exodus 34 language, God's revelation of his name, who he is. And then the psalmist goes on to speak of, because of who God is, what is God's kingdom like. And we've seen this glorious description of the Lord's dealings with creation. And if verses 15 and 16 focused on God as a generous giver, because of who God is, the self-sufficient God, his relationship with creation is one of gift. He is a giver. I think verses 17, 18, 19, or particularly 18 and 19, just focus that even more to the chief gift being God himself. He gives food in due season. He satisfies the desires of every living thing. But verse 18, the Lord is near to all who call on him. The greatest gift, the greatest blessing he gives is the gift of himself. His presence with his people. God is omnipresent. He is present throughout the world, everywhere. No part of this world that is distant from God, but here near to all who call on him. It's his closeness, his blessing, his comforting presence. And the Lord is near to all who call on him. Psalm 73, the psalmist says, it is good to be near you. When we see the world rightly, we see that being with God is the greatest thing we could have, our greatest need, and if we're thinking straight, our greatest desire, and the Lord is near to all who call on him. Maybe just have a little look around at the room you're in now, or wherever you might be. Might be a place of comfort, might be a place of uncertainty, might be a place of challenges. Just have a look at where you are now, and wherever you are, know that if you're a Christian believer who calls on the name of the Lord is near to you, the Lord is with you there. Whatever we go through, the Lord is with us there, present, always, to bless, to care, to comfort, to encourage, to support. The Lord is near to all who call on him. And I think if we're thinking right, we'll see that as the chief blessing. There's that song, take the world but give me Jesus. Think of Moses in Exodus. We've mentioned there's a real Exodus 34 flavour to this passage where the Lord reveals his name. Just prior to that, in Exodus 33, Moses is talking with the Lord. The people have sinned at the golden calf, and the Lord is saying, I can't go with this people. I'll send you up to the promised land, but I can't go with you. And Moses says, if you won't come with us, we don't want the promised land. That's a summary, by the way, Exodus 33:15. You can read it in Moses' own words. But if you won't be with us, we don't want all the good stuff. We don't want the blessings. We want to be near you. That is the chief blessing. And it's a blessing we know to be true. The Lord is near to all who call on him, whether we feel it or not, whether we are having a good day or not, whether we are being particularly obedient or not. The Lord is near to his people. I think that explains something of verse 19. He fulfills the desire of those who fear him. Of course, there are desires in this life that aren't fulfilled. There are some wrong desires, of course, that mercifully the Lord doesn't fulfill. There are some good desires, but the fulfillment is deferred, and perhaps even till Christ returns, some good desires aren't received. But he does fulfill the desire of those who fear him. Those who fear him, those who set him in his rightful place. He ultimately fulfills their good desire, which is ultimately for himself, our deepest desires. Sometimes we look to satisfy those desires in other places and find that the other places we look to fail us, but God satisfies our heart's deepest desires. Think of the oft quoted words of Augustine, you have made us for yourself. Our hearts are restless until they find rest in you. God fulfills the desire of those who love him. And we'll experience that all fully and finally when we see him face to face. But I think the reason he can fulfill this desire is ultimately because we have him, and in him all things. And he hears their cry and saves them. I wonder if we're particularly thinking still of the Lord upholding those who are falling and those who are needy, and the Lord's care for the weak. The Lord hears the cries of his people in distress and saves them. And of course, that's our ultimate story. If we're Christian believers, we're all those in distress of our own sin and where that was leading us, but the Lord heard our cry and saved us. Jim Hamilton, who preached on this psalm, a friend of mine in America, put it this way: this verse doesn't mean we'll get all we want when we want it, but it does mean we'll get God, and at the end of all things, salvation. Reminds me of Psalm 73. The psalmist says, you guide me with your counsel, and afterwards you'll receive me into glory. God with us on the journey, and then ultimately seeing him face to face, the full fruition, the full experience of all God's goodness. The Lord preserves all who love him. He will keep them to glory, but the wicked he'll destroy. The psalm raises our sights to that horizon, that future, when a judgment will come. The wicked will be destroyed and put away. All that threatens peace and stability and security and goodness will be put away, and the Lord will preserve all those who have trusted in him. The Lord will keep us going till that final day. And so, no surprise, the psalmist concludes, my mouth will speak the praise of the Lord, and let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever. Why will the psalmist speak of the praise of the Lord? Not because he's been badgered into doing it by his church minister. You really need to be doing some evangelism now, David. You really need to get on with it. Christmas is a great time. Come on, David. No, David, it's the overflow of his heart, his mouth speaks. He has seen God is worthy of praise. His greatness is unsearchable. He's known the Lord to be caring for him when he's needy. He's known the Lord to be provider. He's known the blessing of being near the Lord. And so he says, I will speak God's praise. And I want others to know how wonderful it is to be a subject of this King. Let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever. It's a psalm that encourages us to have big thoughts of God, to see God as he really is, kind, gracious, good, and particularly today, near to his people, fulfills our deepest desires, and will keep us till the end, when we'll see him face to face, when verse 21 will not just be an aspiration for our better moments, but will be our all in all. Spurgeon put it this way: if there were 2 forevers, or if there were 20 forevers, they ought all to be spent in the praises of the ever-living, ever-blessing, ever-blessed Lord. Amen. Well, it's been lovely to have you joining, and I wish you every blessing for the rest of the day, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And I will choose Psalm 65 or Psalm 40. I'm not sure the best order yet, so one of those two we will begin tomorrow morning. God bless.